Commissioner Mark Noonan joining us here at the Apple Bowl. Mark, when you look behind you and around you at the scene here, how excited are you to be in Kelowna?
It's fantastic. I didn't know we'd have Metallica playing in the middle of our interview, but it's great to be here. The rain's letting up, and Kelowna has shown up, and it proves that this community loves their football and loves CPL.
Tell us a little bit more about that, just in terms of the general public, but also the public bodies here that you've been in conversations with. What are those relationships like, and what do you think you've kind of established here moving forwards?
Yeah, I mean, we started with a great meeting and kickoff with the mayor and the city office about a month ago, and since then they've been incredible partners, and we've sold 5,500 tickets already at a very high average ticket price, so that really is a market that is proving that economically this could be a great place for us.
Before we kick off, I've got to ask you, where are we going next? Have you got any ideas where you'd like to take this on tour series?
We got a lot of ideas. Any cities out there that want a CPL on tour, let us know in the league office and we'll consider it. But there's a lot of places that, the idea is to test potential expansion markets and see how the fans turn up, see how the community interacts with us, and this is a great first test.
Commissioner, thanks for the time. Enjoy this today.
Yeah, thanks. Cheers.
By the way, the Metallica, I'm ready to go. Look, we sit here as people that cover the Canadian Premier League, you fans out there, we all have opinions and takes on where we would like to see this league go. And there's plenty of different communities that could welcome, based upon interest, a Canadian Premier League side. But a couple of things are crucially important to this happening. Infrastructure and desire of levels of government with the corporate community to work together in order to make it happen. So KJ, if you're throwing darts at the board, what makes sense to you here in terms of where to go next? Kelowna looks like a good place. A summer market, good for all seasons, grass field, ticks a lot of the boxes, doesn't it?
Sure does. Yeah, you mentioned it, some of the infrastructure that's very important. The other thing that's, for me, is essentially important no matter where they go now is longevity. You've got to go there and it's got to stick.
Yeah.
And look, it's professional sports and we all know there's a lot of things that are changing, and I'm not saying, okay, it's going to be there forever, 100 years, but you've got to go and think that it's got a real chance. It can't just be, okay, well, we had this game, well, let's just go. You've got to have that kind of ownership backing, Jordan, and there's lots of places, and that's why I think Quebec is simmering, right? It's simmering for obvious reasons. We've seen it with the Canadian Championship and what's happening, and I think, with Mark Noonan and what the ownership groups will work together and the Board of Governors with the Canadian Premier League is that they know that when they make that commitment to open the door, you know that you're going to get to stay there.
And you bring up Quebec. I mean, that's what I want to see next. Kelowna would be nice, of course, but maybe another East Coast team in that market. You want to see for players that are younger can look up to a Canadian Premier League team and say they want to play there, and there's a talented place. So for me, East Coast, Quebec, Montreal, wherever it is in that beautiful province, I would love to see a team there.
The thing that's holding things back in this country is that lack of infrastructure. The question is, where are you going to play, and how much does that cost, and how do you get the land, and how is it going to be supported? These are not easy questions, not only for the Canadian Premier League, but any league that has any desire of building something in this country. It's a problem that they face.
Yeah, it's a huge problem, KJ. We talk about all the time, but first of all, just the weather alone in this country, for 6-7 months out of the year, you probably don't want to be outside. But yeah, the permits that takes, it was just so right. To go and try to build something, it's just difficult in this country.
All of those are challenges, but what the opportunities, and you turn it around, is the fact that we need to be able to find them. It is embarrassing for a country like Canada to have the lack of resources that we have when it comes to stadiums and infrastructure. That is the word for me.
Yeah.
And it isn't about comparing ourselves to the great country to the south, which seemingly has something in every 20-minute margin of every university and school and high school that has unbelievable resources. This is just talking about other countries around the world that are not as rich and resourceful as Canada, that are able to produce those things. And the great thing about sport and what we're going to see today in Kelowna is it brings people together. There's a sense of community. There's a sense of people, representing who you are and where you are from. And that's the great opportunity that the Canadian Premier League has. And this is why Halifax is working so well, because yes, they have the Mooseheads, and yes, they've explored it with CFL, but there's a lack of, professional infrastructure in sport there to represent people there. Hamilton, people in Ford to travel for years to go to Toronto and watch TFC, but they want people representing Hamilton Hamilton and what Hamilton stands for. And yes, they can look and respect TFC, but Forge represents things very differently to what the city of Toronto does. And there's so many more examples of that. And we need to go into those markets across this great country and continue to showcase that and represent the great Canadians that live there.
Opportunity to embrace and build on community, build excitement. And really, that's something that Kelowna has done with the Kelowna Rockets. It's like a staple in that city. And they're ambitious. They're looking to build. And, you know, hopefully things go well today. And hopefully it goes well on the field for both Vancouver and Cavalry as well. Brand new show, Vamos. It's Copa America. The preview show for the entire tournament's coming up on Tuesday. Christian Jack is on his way down to Atlanta.
Go on.
Immediately following this one here tonight, well, soon thereafter, and we'll be covering
Wheels
Canada
up.
on the ground. Wheels up, indeed. Vamos, KJ. Vamos. To Tony Bet Match of the Week. All I know is if you pile buckets, don't try to climb it. Oh, there it goes down. Look, we're really excited for this one. We'll turn our attention back to the teams next. It's Vancouver, it's Cavalry. It's your Tony Bet Match of the Week as the Canadian Premier League's on tour.